Hey there, how are you doing? Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Yay.
We
Dude,
made it. We made it to the weekend. Oh,
yes, exactly. So now
yeah.
how is your week going compared to your full-time job? But I guess it's still pretty hectic, right?
I work more hours now than I did before. It's one of those things where when I was working for Facebook and I was doing the real estate on the side. Anything I did in real estate was extra. It was like bonus. Now, any moment that I'm not working on real estate is like stealing from myself. Is kind of the thought process. So it's a little bit weird from that perspective. So yeah, I work way more hours than I did before. I probably put in my quietest week has probably been about 60, and I think I'm averaging closer to about 70 right now. I'm working a lot, but I'm building a lot of cool stuff. I'm building the coaching program. I'm building the fund. I'm building a construction management company. So yeah, lots of good stuff going on. I want to hear more about your deal though.
About my deal?
Yeah.
I mean, it's going. I'm under contract, waiting for inspection, waiting for appraisal and all this good stuff.
Do you have a contractor going through as well?
Um, nope.
Okay. Are you doing this one isn't a rehab. It's just
It is rent ready.
okay. Gotcha. Yeah, that makes life a little bit easier. Nice. That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, how are you doing today, Dave?
I'm good.
What are you
Not
working on?
so Brad just is finishing up this week into next week at Kenwood. I'm gonna sell it. I have a new property manager that I've been researching and talking to, so I'm kind of excited about that.
Nice. Who's that?
I wanted to ask this question, Nick, because I was doing some studying in my office 2 nights ago, and it has to do with taxes. So, as I understand it, Marion County investment properties, they cap at 2% on the assessed value. So let's say you purchase a property and you're going to rehab it. And let's just say, for argument's sake, it's assessed at 70, you buy it for 90 and you rehab it. And now it's worth, let's just say 200. Okay. Obviously they're not going to assess it at 200. The tax rate's a little bit different, but how are you able to forecast or figure out and say, hey, okay, after I rehab this and after a year, for argument's sake, taxman's going to come and reassess me, which is going to affect. So how do you what do you do in that instance?
Yeah, I generally look at kind of what the current tax rate is based on the assessed value because they can go as high as 2%. They often don't. It's usually closer to 1.2%. I would say is kind of the average that I tend to see. And then I just assume that they're going to keep that same tax rate and do it based on the new value of the property. So again, in that example, that $200,000 example, I look at that and I'm like, oh shoot, they're probably in it, they're charging 1% right now. I just assume my tax rate is going to be about $2,000.
Okay.
And Ed and Mila can attest to this. This is how, essentially my underwriting kind of goes on the, they've seen my calculator and how I calculate everything. And it's all just based on the percentage of the ARV.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, but no, it's a real crapshoot. That's one of those things that it's variable. You know where your ceiling is, but you don't know where it's actually going to land in there.
Well, again, that could dramatically affect your cash flow, right? So that's where it's
$2,000 a year. I mean, that is a lot of people's cash flow on a project.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing that as I look and I go further down and I do another rental, it's like, okay, well, you buy a fixer upper, it gets reassessed and you have a tenant in there and then you're bleeding out money. That's where I think that's the one area that is a little bit challenging to kind of predict, like we talked about. So just curious.
Yeah, it's super tough to predict, but at least you know where your cap is. You know what your absolute ceiling is.
Right.
And like if it's higher than that, that's a happy
argument.
problem.
And maybe I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, and if it goes higher than that, then you have an argument. But that's a happy problem. When that number goes up fundamentally, that means the value of your property has gone up.
Right. Now, all I was going to say is I guess you could always, well, it doesn't really matter. Never mind. I was going to say you could always offer less for the asking price, but it doesn't matter because once it's assessed, it has nothing to do with what you bought it for. So I answered my own question.
They definitely will use different pieces of information, like new mortgages on a property, sales, as an impetus to potentially look to reevaluate. But it is pretty slow. Oftentimes, it's only a couple percentage points per year change. Yeah, it's generally in line with inflation. That was generally what I saw this year. Was my stuff was running at about 8 to 10% year over year. Well, I know we had an awesome conversation earlier with the appraiser. That guy, he was dropping some knowledge bombs. I'll tell you that the one piece that was inconsistent isn't something I'm seeing, is the conversation he had around bedrooms. That is absolutely not what I'm seeing from the appraisals I've had done recently, with the adding the extra bedroom, not adding a ton of value. And where I think that breakdown and the explanation comes is the fact that the first thing he's going to look for in comps is going to be the bed bath size. So it like almost, if those exist, it excludes the other ones, if that makes sense. So I think that might be the kind of gap that we weren't able to really solve there on the call.
Yeah, that's why I was asking to elaborate and expand, because he mentioned that he doesn't take this second step, right? It's either square footage or bedroom, but it's not a combination of both. And I was just curious how the subsequent calcs or adjustment is done.
Yeah, it seems, and I think what you can take away from that conversation is there's a lot of finger to the wind. It's very much an art form, not a science. They use scientific inputs, but it's very much however that guy's feeling on that particular day.
And even the smell matters. This is what I learned.
That was not the one I expected. I did mean to ask, and I forgot to, despite all our notes. I did mean to ask, like, hey, what, do you ever look at like the packets or something like that somebody might hand you of like the work that's been completed? Is that an input in the appraisal that you do? So I'll probably in my next conversation ask that question as well.
So I'm understanding they're not only objective considerations, but also like a subjective factor. It's kind of weighing.
He was kind of given ranges and like,
right.
Is it done up to the nines? Like, what is up to the nines necessarily? Like, there's a lot of subjectivity. I'm sitting right now in my basement. You would never know that this is a basement. Yeah, I know. And like this is definitely extra square footage, 100%. So that would be up to the nines. But like, what is that defined as? There's a lot of subjectivity in any appraisal. I like he did give good advice. He gave good advice on the catching more flies with honey than vinegar, by just calling up and kind of making it a conversation. Because I can imagine a lot of people, for two things. One, millennials, we hate talking on the phone. We're terrible at it. So I can imagine a lot of people just trying to do it all through email. But then number two, really struggling with just kind of, this is a high stress situation. It's a high stress transaction. A lot of money's on the line. And I can imagine a lot of people not showing up as their best selves. So, well, hey, Prasanth there. I'm totally butchering that name.
That's actually pretty accurate pronunciation.
Oh, hey, all right. I'm not terrible then. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. I spoke to you maybe a year ago when I was just expanding into the indie market. We talked about Alicia, I was looking for property manager and stuff. So you were generous to help me out. I just saw the link being posted on the Outer State Investor Group. Just clicked on it.
Oh, that's awesome. So did you end up investing out here?
Yeah, I have about a dozen properties, rentals now, and also doing fix and flip. So it's been quite good. Been more successful there than in Seattle here.
Yeah. Well, I can imagine Seattle being a particularly expensive market to try and do stuff.
Yeah, and the tenant rules are getting super skewed.
Yeah.
But it's just too risky, getting too risky.
Yeah. And again, I don't care what your political leanings are, but that's a whole lot of the advantage of being in a red state. So out of curiosity, what advice, I know Ed and Mila here are looking to purchase their first properties in Indianapolis. Do you have any advice for them? Any thoughts after
Right.
having about a dozen?
Yes. So if you're, I think for a first property, so when I started doing my out of state investing, I was really skeptical about every part of the process. Just buying it unseen and stuff. What helped me a lot was just using a real estate agent to just go through that first transaction. Um, Even then, I was a little bit stressed out, but I would not have. I think if I had just tried to buy like a great deal, like from a wholesaler or anything of that sort, I would never have. It would have taken me much longer to buy that. So but I'm looking back. I bought it at retail price. I didn't have great equity, but I bought in Fishers.
Oh,
So
I love
so
Fishers.
I've been pretty glad. Like I could go on burr now after a year and a half on it. It's a delayed burr, but just using an agent just made that process a little bit more easier. At least it helped me push in that direction. And then I think the first 2 or 3 deals I did with an agent, and after that I started doing my own off-market lead generation, and I've been just buying off markets. But going through that agent really helped me understand the process, learn through like things that needs to be done. If I'm and also help build the connections, title companies, contractors, and so on and so forth.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I think it's generally a smart decision for people to start out with an agent, somebody who's a fiduciary watching your back, build that team, and maybe stick with an agent for the rest of the time you invest. But you have the flexibility to go be a little bit more creative, a little bit more risky once you've got the rest of that team in place.
Right. And so I still list with the same agent on all my flips and stuff. The other thing I learned the hard way is before you hire contractors and stuff, generally, I suggest you go to Indiana court case records and then just Google their name or their entity and see what kind of cases, is there any cases and stuff that's going on. I figured I hired a contractor and later figured that contractor has around 3 evictions and like a lot of other cases going on, and I have a lawsuit against them. They just took the money and left. But since then I've been like looking through like the Indiana court case record just to verify the people that you're working with. It's actually pretty insightful.
Yeah, that's really good information. The other thing I generally recommend for people is you pay very little upfront. If you're going to pay anything upfront whatsoever, you only pay for the cost of a little bit of the materials, not the materials for the entire project. And then you pay based on work completed. I generally speaking on a $30,000 rehab might have 2 to 3 draws over the course of that. On a 50,000, maybe 4 to 5. But I try and do it based on work completed. And I will, if I'm not going to walk it and see it myself, I will have either an inspector walk it. I will have, now I have a project manager walk it on my behalf to validate the work completed, because contractors all have an expiration date is what I've learned. Every single one of them has an expiration date. And the other thing is you'll often find that contractors might mess up what house they happen to send their photo from. Or what house they're happening to send a photo of. Oh man, this kitchen looks very similar to that other kitchen that I'm working on. So it does tend to happen, and unfortunately there are a lot of bad contractors out there. So generally recommend doing whatever you can to protect yourself.
I have a question to Prasad.
Yeah.
Can I ask you? So you mentioned you started with agent and then you moved to the off-market lead generation. So how did you generate the leads? Like, did you send your offers to the sellers, like in the envelopes, or how did you make it?
Oh, so I've been doing texting and cold calling. So I have like virtual assistants who do that job for me. So mostly that I use the software called batch leads, batch dialers, and then I just pull leads out of PropStream or just batch leads and then just trying to market to them. So it's been pretty good actually. So I've been spending around 3,000 a month on the virtual assistants, the softwares, skip tracing, and stuff like that. But just one deal made it worth it for me out of that whole. It took me like around 6 months to even get to the first deal through that off market because I had to build a lead pipeline. So I was like little bit not sure why am I spending 2-3 grand a month, like I'm not getting any deals. But once the lead pipeline is built, like you hit one deal, like I got a really good deal where I made 100K on it, and it made up for it. Then that propelled me to take more risk, like hire more people to kind of try and scale things out. But that's pretty much how I'm doing SMS texting and cold calling. And texting has been working a little bit better for me than cold calling
Who
in
picks up
India.
the phone anymore?
What is right? But there are a lot of when you skip trace a typical list, around 50% of the numbers seem to be landline. So there seems to be some value in trying to just do cold calling because you can't reach them over text.
Yeah.
And I think it may cater to a specific set of demographic, like old sellers or anything of that sort. I'm not sure about that, but certainly I did find that 40 to 50% of them seem to be landline, at least using the skip tracing tool that I'm using.
Gotcha. And I'll tell you, that's something that we've been thinking about in our business a decent amount, is bringing some of that in house. We've got a guy who's a wholesaler who basically wants to work with us, but is kind of trying to figure out how that entire process works. So really appreciate you kind of sharing that information. How many virtual assistants do you use?
So virtual assistants, I right now have one for texting and one for cold calling. I have found that I try to find one person to do both of it. I have had a hard time finding one person who's good in both. So I have two virtual assistants
Interesting.
to do the cold calling and texting, and I have like a sales rep who's a little bit on the higher price point to actually do the follow-ups and do the actual negotiations and stuff like that.
Gotcha. Very cool.
And again, I've been heavily iterating on this, both with figuring out how to hire the right person, like people, what the exact process is. So it's a continuously, I've been like, so I still don't think I have a process that I'm satisfied with. So it's continuously evolving, changing people, changing the softwares, how things work.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're always iterate the process. If you're not improving, you're getting worse here.
Yes.
Looks like we got Prudence joining. Any other questions from your side, Ed, Mila, Dave? Anything else going on?
I have questions regarding insurance, if it matters, or like any advice that you guys can give regarding Indiana property insurance for the mortgage. Any recommendations you could give?
I have a provider I really like. In fact, it's the only team member on my team from my original purchase that I still use. And so I can give a contact. His name's McKay from Inside Insurance. Really, really good, really nice guy. So I'll shoot you. I'll put it here in the chat thread. The things you need to look out for are you're gonna have to look out to make sure you're not in a flood zone or anything like that. I know you're in the Bay Area, so the idea of a flood zone is a little crazy because there's no water. You have to worry about that out here. But overall, not a whole lot of things to really be worked through. Pretty simple for the most part.
Is there argument for local versus? Does it matter?
I haven't found a whole lot of value going local outside of just having another person who's nearby who can comment on the properties, can comment on the area. So not a whole lot of extra value. Generally speaking, what I'm looking for is a broker who's going to go find me the best deal. And that's what McKay is. He's an insurance broker.
Right. So the only value add I see in having going local is perhaps sometimes when things happen, the insurance agents seem to have contractor contacts, if they are local, that they can just send before even deciding whether to put in an adjuster for that, to help us decide whether filing a claim is a good idea or not. But beyond that, yeah, I agree with Nick. Going local necessarily does not have that much of an value. As long as they, like, for example, they're in Midwest, like sometimes like I would not go and use my Washington agent for properties in Indianapolis, because there are certain kind of things that is like region specific, that people should be aware of, I believe.
Yeah.
But yeah, I use this person called Jeff Call from State Farm. Has been pretty good. I have not shopped around much on insurance, but for flips, they don't. State Farm doesn't do flips, so I use other brokers who are also recommended in the out of state investor groups to do the flip insurance.
Do you use Ted King?
No, I use Ashley Brown.
Okay, I know Ashley.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good guy too.
Yeah, Ted's a really good guy. If I wasn't loyal to my guy, I would be working with Ted. Ted's super good, and he actually works very closely with Jared and his team. I've gone to a couple of events with Ted in their office up in Noblesville. It's a really nice office. Yeah, go for it, Ed.
What's the value of that contact like that? Well, and you have a broker. That broker finds you the best insurance company to work with, but what's the value of that local contact? Because when I've had a claim of State Farm, I'm dealing with other people. It's not like the person that I originally talked to.
Yeah, having a centralized person that you can go to and just say, hey, this is my issue, go figure out who needs to be contacted and what the next step is. There's a ton of value. And now granted, that's more of a value when you're at scale. So I generally recommend having one insurance person for all of your insurance so that you only have to deal with one person. And it's very easy. Like I've had to make many insurance claims over the years. I've taken a video and I've been like, dude, McKay, we got a effed up situation here. Help me out, buddy. And he goes and contacts the right people and gets things started properly, gets me the right phone numbers to call. The point about having a contractor that can go out there, I mean, that's kind of one of the things I teach people is to have your contractor relationships. So somebody's willing to go out there and put together a small scope of work for whatever the thing is that needs to be done. And that gives you an indication of, hey, is this worth me putting a claim in with a $2,500 deductible, or $1,000 deductible, whatever you happen to have on that project. So if you've built a strong enough contractor relationship, the value of the local person is kind of less important for the contracting relationship there. Does that make sense? Like and let me tell you, would never encourage anyone to do insurance fraud, but my contractors understand when it's an insurance claim and when it's a, hey, Nick's paying the money, and I kind of let them know on the front end so that they have an understanding of, hey, this is an opportunity for potentially incremental margin that you don't tend to get when it's Nick who's paying the full amount. Yeah, Dave.
I'm sorry, Nick. My computer kicked out when you were talking about the appraisers. I guess I just wanted to make 2 points. So it's funny you bring that up. When I had the appraisal done for Kenwood, when I was refinancing, I had an original appraisal because I did the flip with a hard money lender, and they basically did an appraisal on what the property was worth currently and my scope of work, what was going to be done afterwards. What was a very hard pill for me to swallow was the appraisal came in at about 215, which was 30,000 over the comps my realtor had given me.
Yeah.
And then when it came time for the appraiser for the bank to come in, he appraised it 25 grand less than the hard money appraiser did. Yep. To your point, I am not a millennial. I'm 42. I like talking on the phone. I like to just develop relationships. I talked to the appraiser before he went out, developed a really nice relationship with the guy. To your point, buttered the guy up, gave him a very thorough list of everything that had been done. In the end, when I talked to him, he's like, look, I know I didn't give you the number you wanted. And I was like, your job is your job. But now I have a contact so that with the next property that goes, I can get comps from my realtor. My property manager also has hey, what are your comps? Hey, Mr. Appraiser, for $25, can you give me this? Just so I can see what everyone's showing me across the board. So that way I have a clear understanding what the ARV is. That's the only thing I was really going to say about that. The only other thing I wanted to ask you, Nick, is because you're doing so many deals, I know you've mentioned that you use more than one realtor. How has that conversation gone with, maybe you've done a lot of business one where and say, hey, listen, I'm looking to do X number of deals. So I wrote out my 3-year plan and I gave it to my one realtor so far and said, hey, here's what I'm looking to do. But in my mind, I'm knowing if you can't find me the deals and I'm not ready to go the wholesaling route, I got to crawl before I can walk. What was that conversation like you had with the realtors when you said, hey, listen, I have a goal. I need more. I need you to bring more options. If you can't, I need to go somewhere else. And you didn't say it that way, but how do you do that?
I mean, I wouldn't fire anybody. I want as many people working for me as humanly possible.
Right.
I want, multiple agents working for me. Hell, I was I just spoke at a Keller Williams event on Wednesday. I gave an hour and a half long talk where I probably have 30 new people who are going to start sending me deals. I am loyal to my agents when they bring me a deal. If somebody brings me a deal, I will close with them. And if I end up selling that property on the back end, I will do whatever I can to sell that property with them. But that loyalty only extends as long as they're bringing me the opportunities.
Yeah.
Now, to be clear, I have an agent I really like working with all my dispositions from a wholesale perspective, because he gets me a sweetheart rate because he's willing to essentially rep both sides for a discount. And so I'll shoot him basically all of my stuff that I buy from wholesalers. But I have no loyalty. Like these people are hired guns. And as soon as somebody isn't delivering for me, I don't feel any need to continue to work with them. Now, if agent 1 sends you a deal and you go to agent 2 to close it, that's a little unethical, right, in my opinion. But like these people are fundamentally your deal source. They're fundamentally your deal flow. And so they need to be providing that. And to be clear, just having you on a drip campaign and like they happen to email you something on an automatic drip campaign, I don't consider enough to like win the deal. But if they have you on a drip campaign and then send you an email based on that and say, hey, like this one actually seems to fit what you're looking for, and like you analyze it because of that, then I give them the opportunity. But yeah, I probably have now, based on that talk I just gave at Keller Williams, I probably have 35 agents who are all looking to send me deals, and that's a really good place to be.
Because to your point, I read the book again. I've read it twice now, that Out of State Long Distance Investing by David Green. And I basically copied the email Word doc in the book verbatim. And it took me probably an hour to look at top agents in the Indianapolis area. And especially there was ones that right there, they said, work with investors. So you can start to build up that list. But to your point, it's like you said, you're not loyal if they're not bringing you deals. So that's all I wanted to ask.
But they don't need to be loyal to you either. If you don't close, they're going to go to the next client.
Yeah.
And that was the piece of advice I actually gave most of these agents, is like, find out what your people are looking for, create a CRM of all these people. And if you find a deal that is a, turnkey opportunity, send it out to everybody who's looking for a good, 0.8% turnkey opportunity. If you want, if people are looking for burgers, you find a great burr opportunity that only needs $30,000 worth of work and you're going to get $60,000 worth of equity. Go send it out to all your burr investors. They shouldn't be loyal and you should be loyal, because they don't have an exclusive right to your funds and you don't have an exclusive right to their time. This is an at convenience relationship.
Sorry, Nick, one more question.
You're good.
I'll shut up.
No, dude, you're good.
I spent about another 40 minutes one night really refining my criteria. And I probably have about 8 pieces of criteria I have that I really want to look for in my properties. When you work with these realtors, and again, I have my real estate license, so I'm kind of speaking from experience. I feel like a lot of them, it's just easier to put you on a drip campaign versus I see this investor, he's got 8 points he's looking for. He's willing to pull the trigger. Let me really go and drill into this versus the drip campaign. So like, that's the kind of thing where, I guess you never know until you might have to make 100 phone calls to get one realtor that says, I understand what you need and finds it. So.
Yeah.
I think
Well,
some of them are
my
just
biggest
lazy, like,
recommendation,
part of
man,
that drifting.
it isn't just to send people your 8 points and then move on. It's to
Right.
constantly have a communication, open communication with people, texting them, going out to dinner with them if you come into town. Like really build those long relationships so that when that opportunity comes, they're thinking about you. So I'll give you an example of why this is valuable. I went to have drinks with a couple of friends not that long ago. And one of the like friends of our friend that was there was an agent here in Indianapolis. He ended up there was a lot of reasons why, but he ended up not purchasing this property that he was under contract with, but wanted to assign it to somebody. He assigned it to me because he knew what I was looking for. I had just seen him. I just talked to him about what I was looking for. He assigned it to me for literally $0. No write-up, nothing. He came in there and assigned it to me. And on the back end, he just asked that I list it with him. But because I was in front of him, he was totally fine repping. So just be communicating with everybody you can what you're looking for. Hell, I told Jared Shore what I was looking for, and he just sent me a deal the other day. Like an off-market opportunity. So stay front of mind with people, consistently talk about what you're doing, be friends with people, and you're going to be shocked at the number of deals that come in. Yeah. What up, Chris? How you doing, buddy?
Yo, what's up, Nick?
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
Yeah. How you doing?
Doing good. I don't know if you heard about my new Indiana adventure.
I heard that we might need to make an insurance claim on that property. Speaking of, we were talking about insurance earlier.
Nice. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Well, so to give everybody, get everybody up to speed, it seems like Chris Shue might have a tenant who lets some people into his house who might not be. And again, I don't have the full story. I had a drink with your property manager the other day, and he was quite unhappy when I saw him. And so I need to get an update from him on what's going on. But he's got a tenant who has guests in the property who have automatic or semi-automatic weapons and have been firing them out of the house, and people have been firing them into the house over the last couple of days. The police have been called, I think, a couple times.
Yeah,
generally, right?
Reports,
Did I miss anything?
I think that's about right. And like hundreds of bullets in front of the house.
Yeah. So needless to say, the tenants aren't happy. The neighbors aren't happy. So I know the property. So this is one of those situations where the property manager, this is why you have insurance. This is why you have a property manager. The property manager has been at the property multiple times. He's working with the police to get the tenants out as soon as humanly possible, doing an emergency eviction. Again, this is why you have insurance, so that we can go make a claim. Because let me tell you, bullet holes aren't cheap. Bullet holes mean you have to go fix some insulation. You have to fix both the outside siding and the inside. So it sounds like, Chris, you're probably going to get some new outside siding. It sounds like you're probably going to get some new drywall. So improvements to your house. Congratulations. Fantastic. Believe it or not, this is something that's happened to me before. Chris, you are not alone. This happened to me at 3922 Rookwood. I've subsequently sold this house, but this was one that apparently I didn't even know it. So I happened to drive by this property because I noticed that the tenant hadn't been paying rent. This was with a prior property manager who no longer is in the business, and I drove by. And I could feel the house was empty. Like there was a lot of mail in the slot and stuff like that. How you can just kind of tell a house, nobody's been there for a long time. And so I went up, I knocked, nobody was there. I was like, okay, great. So I then find out, I call my property manager. I'm like, hey, I think the house is empty. They find out that the utilities are disconnected. So for all those reasons, we can enter the house now legally. I go there with my contractor. Thankfully, I'm going in with this big guy. Contractor's huge. He always is carrying a gun. Fantastic. So I'm standing behind him because he's like 280 pounds. And so I'm like, all right, like he's going to get the bullet hole. We're walking around the house and we just see like the entire side of the house covered in bullet holes. We end up going inside. The house has been raided, clearly. Like all the registers are out of this house. And so it sucked, man. Like it was like, I was terrified. Like what happens now? Like I'd never been through this. I never really made an insurance claim before, I don't think, up to this point. And really scary situation. And then I made an insurance claim. Obviously the deductible was there, but an adjuster came out, to our earlier point. It clearly, we knew after having walked it with my contractor, this was going to be thousands of dollars worth of work. And we were trying to like prove that there was a bullet in the roof too. So the entire roof needed to be replaced. We were trying to like, it actually, believe it or not, was a little bit of a blessing in a lot of ways, because there was damage done to the house, to parts of the house that were already a little older, and then were forced to be replaced. And so the adjuster came out, figured out the damage associated with the house. Our contractor gave a scope of work on those things, and the insurance company paid for everything except for that oh my God, my brain has just frozen. The help me out, guys. What's the first part? What was that? Deductible. Thank you. Oh my gosh. Clearly it's been a long day. It's been a long week. But yeah, so they covered everything but the deductible there. And so I basically got all new siding on the house. I got new roof, all paid for, except for the $2,500 deductible. So it was actually one of the best things that could have happened to me, despite being a bad situation. So, Chris, you're not alone. Unfortunately, this is something that happens. David is going to get you through it. He's the right guy to get you through it. Now, granted, he's going to be hiding behind the police officer, is what he told me. He's like, I'm not going there without the cops. But it sounds like he should be able to get him out through an emergency eviction. I was supposed to have a call with him this morning. He was actually dealing with your situation this morning, so he canceled on me. So he's on top of it, is basically what I can tell you.
Yeah, no, David's been great. That's why it's like, I told my wife, like, I think she asked me if I'm stressed out about it. And I'm like, we have a good team in place. Nick and David have been helpful to kind of walk us
you've got a great team in place. I'll have Paul, my project manager, also kind of lead this one a little bit. And so everybody knows this was a turnkey purchase for me. So I'm going to make sure that Chris is taken care of as much as humanly possible here. So yeah, we'll stuff like that on the project to make sure you're taken care of. And let's hope like a roof was taken out or something. That'd be great. If there was a bullet through the roof, let's have that happen. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah, that's after you told me that, I was like, dude, that's great. Hopefully there are holes.
For real though, like you're gonna get new siding, you're gonna get new drywall in the house. So like let's have as many things damaged as possible so we can get brand new of everything.
Yeah.
And to be clear, I know I'm kind of making light of a tough situation. Like the hard part of this, the human part, the part that always weighs very heavily on me is the human part, like the evictions that are going to happen here, and the heartache to the neighbors. Obviously not a great situation for them. So I hope everything's okay there. And I feel for David. So I'll make sure to get him a nice bottle of bourbon or something to make it worth his while here.
Yeah, same here. Nick,
to be clear, yeah. Actually, hold on. Don't get him bourbon. I know he's trying to hold off on drinking. So we'll find something else. But this is the hard part. This is the human part, and this is why you need a fantastic team. Specifically, Chris, you're doing this from Northern California, right?
Yeah, I'm in California.
Yeah. So this is why you have to have a fantastic team. A lot of people view property management as a cost center. This is why it is absolutely not a cost center. It is a loss mitigation center. So, and to be clear, Tremont is not a bad area. Like it has an HOA, like at least like a little community. And so it's very weird that this is happening, because this is the second bad tenant in a row. Very surprising.
Yeah.
Very unusual.
Yeah, I got a call from, I think David said it was his former boss. I think she was like a former broker. And I think she said her son and her fiance live across the street. I definitely resonate with the human life side of it, because I think she said she moved him into some temporary housing until they get evicted. But I feel for all these neighbors. bullets.
So here's one of the things I was thinking about. Is there a world in which we fix this thing up and just sell it off for you? Capitalize on the hot market and just like, hey, you just got new siding. The place is going to look fantastic. Do we maybe sell it off? I think there's a world in which you could potentially make a couple of bucks and cash out and move on.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't
Maybe.
mind that. That's an
Yeah.
option. I think my wife
Okay.
heard that just because of the situation, but I think I don't want to run the numbers again. But I think that
Yeah. Oh yeah.
appreciated well. I think one across the street sold for like 220. And I know
Let
we
me tell
paid-
you guys, Chris made more
108.
money on this house than I did. And it's not particularly close. Like he crushed it on this one. Now, the couple of bad tenants have not been great for him, but yeah, he's done well on this one. Teaches me to sell real estate. I should just hold it. I should just hold it all. Yeah. All right, guys. Any other questions?
Talking about holding real estate. So I just had a conversation with my CPA yesterday. I was just talking to him about if we have to flip homes, what is the how can we save on the taxes? So he was suggesting why don't you just buy the property, like you do the rehab, rent it out for a couple of months, and then just sell it like exactly 1 calendar year after you purchase. So you could then you go into a long-term like a
Long-term
lower
capital gains.
what is it?
Long-term capital gains.
Yeah, long-term capital gain, and also you could 1031 exchange it in principle into another long-term.
12 months is tight on a 1031. It's a super ambiguous thing, but they're generally speaking, they're looking for 18 months plus. So be careful on that 1031 piece. I'm only aware of this because I'm in the middle of a 1031 right now at the 18-month mark. Like literally couldn't be more 18 months. And it's like on the borderline. And so it's a super ambiguous law that is unclear, like where the actual cutoff is. But generally speaking, agreed upon accounting is 18 months. So be careful on that one.
Right. So in that kind of situation, let's say a scenario of doing a delayed flip, just for the purpose of being able to pay lower tax and 1031 exchange, does it make sense to? It doesn't make sense to do a long-term loan on it, like a LLC loan that has a prepayment penalty because you're selling it in a month. So in that
I'd
situation,
actually take a slightly different approach than what you're thinking. I would reorder things. If I was going to go that strategy, I would probably do minimal rehab on the front end. Just get it rent, like, and I don't want to say like slumlord because that's not the level that I would ever feel comfortable renting something out, but get something to a C-class level, like, hey, somebody who's willing to compromise to live here level. And, because it's not going to be super nice. And then after a year or a year and a half, go and do the nicer flip and like get it done, like get the nice part done on the back end versus having a tenant live there and then get the appraiser through when it's going to be shittier.
Right. Okay. That's a good
So
point.
I'd probably reverse that and get the long-term financing on the front end and then sell it on the back end.
Right. Okay. I was thinking on a 1-year basis, like it may be more like a bridge loan that may be easier to do than a long term, and the tenant is going to pay for part of the loan cost for that, but that bridge loan cost, right? So
absolutely. Yeah, I think that's an interesting strategy. It's not something I've currently done, but I'll tell you, like, actually, I might be in the middle of a couple of these right now. We've got the fund going, and we purchased 2 or 3 tenanted properties already that we saw as potential flips. They had amazing tenants that are on time. So it's like, oh shit, do we get them? Like they're 1% deals right now, as they are. They're 1% deals. And the flipping opportunity is there. So I'm actually like buying them from the fund. The fund is going to make a profit and I'm going to hold on to them. And once the tenants eventually move out, then I will end up flipping them because there's a huge upside opportunity. But like when you've got good tenants, they're paying down the rent, they're paying down the mortgage, they're paying rent, you're getting cash flow. It's hard to justify kicking somebody out. Plus, I like the idea of the long-term capital gains. I think that's a fantastic idea. I'll tell you though, have you ever been through a 1031?
I have never done a 1031.
It kind of sucks. It's a lot of work. Right before this, I was literally finishing up my identification because my identification period ends in 2 days. And it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, a lot of rules. And if you're not a creative, I describe myself as a creative son of a bitch. Like that is the best way I could describe me. Like I will push the edge, like I will push the boundaries of the laws as much as humanly possible. And I've had to push pretty hard to get what I want to get done in this particular deal that I'm working on. And like, I've had to lean on my lender. I've had to lean on the seller to like get some weird stuff done that is technically allowed. But there are a lot of guardrails on a 1031 exchange. I can talk about that. If you guys don't have any other specific questions, I can talk about this particular situation. All right, cool. I got thumbs up. All right. Unless Chris, do you have any questions you want to ask?
I guess another question to add on to the 1031, when is like the break even point of like when to do it? So it's kind of related, like how much work does it take, but also like, is it worth it?
That's a totally self-modulated question there.
Yeah.
I would say a 1030, like you have to go be able to find something that can generate as much or more yield. That's the hard part. And so for me, I was in a situation here where a hedge fund came. A partner owned 9 houses that were all identical. I owned 8 houses that were all identical. And a hedge fund came and offered us $18,000 more per house than we thought they were worth. We thought they were worth about 165 a piece. They came and offered 183. So we're like, oh shit, like we got to take that. Like no doubt about it. But then holy crap, what do we do with this money? Because I literally bought this for no money out of pocket. He bought him cash. And so I had to essentially roll his cash, and then I had made cash. So I had to roll that. And so I'm in a weird situation. So there are 3 numbers you really need to think about in a 1031 exchange. You have to go buy as much real estate top line as what you sold. So we sold all these houses, 17 houses for $183,000. We had to go sell 17 times, or we had to go buy 17 times 183 of real estate. Okay. I think it's like 3.1 million ballpark. Then you have to consider, you have to go invest 100% of your proceeds. So we didn't necessarily clear $3.1 million of cash. We had transaction fees. We had the fact that I had loans on the properties. So I didn't get, the 8 times 183. So we have to go sell we have to go use up 100% of those proceeds. And then the final thing that you need to consider is you need to go get 100% or more of the amount of debt that you had. So I had debt on my properties. So you have to go get at least that much debt. My partner had 0, I had debt. So what we're working on right now, and I'm really excited about, we're going to buy a wedding venue down in Bloomington, which is about an hour south of Indianapolis, called The Wilds. It's if you guys want to Google it, it's freaking beautiful. I want to go divorce my wife just to get remarried there. It's absolutely amazing. It has a house on the property as well that the owners currently live in. We're going to convert that into a B&B and let the wedding party stay there. Amazing. Like the most beautiful house. Like I've got a beautiful house. It makes my house look like trash. And so amazing house. And so we are under contract to $3.6 million. And so my partner, he has 1.5 million of cash that he's rolling over from this transaction. That's his top line and his proceeds. He's rolling that forward. And that's our down payment. And I was keeping my I have about $350,000 that I made in this transaction, which again, probably the best deal I've ever done was that last deal, but I'm going to see if I can top it here. And so I've got this $350,000 of cash that I don't need to purchase the Wilds. I'm going to get my piece of it because I'm going to take the debt position. He just wants to have equity and I'm going to take the debt position. So I'm going to get about 58%. He's going to get about, 42% ballpark in the actual transaction. But I still have this 300. So I've covered my top line number of, hey, I will replace the amount of real estate purchase because he's going to get 41% of it. I'm going to get 52%, whatever, or 58%, whatever that is, of 3.6 million. Fantastic. But then I need to figure out what I'm going to do with my bottom line, my proceeds number. Since he had no debt, that's out of the question. That third number, I'm going to be more than covered because I'm getting 2.1 million of debt on this sucker. So again, the only number we need to consider is that $350,000. So there were a couple of options. The first option I came up with that I thought was super creative was increase the price of the purchase by $350,000, increase our down payment and say, hey, you go just reinvest $350,000 of cash in the business. But that's a taxable event for the buyer, or pardon me, for the seller. Does that make sense? If they make $350,000 more top line, they're gonna have to pay taxes on that. So I was like, oh shit, that's not gonna work. The next option I came up with was to go buy $350,000 of real estate cash. Since I had already accounted for my top line number that I needed to, and my debt position, go buy $350,000 worth of real estate cash and then do a cash out refinance on that property and get 75 to 80% of that capital back as essentially cash for the business. The last option that I just got the green light on from my lender is to keep our purchase price, but increase our down payment by $350,000. Basically my $350,000. And then he'll give me a line of credit against the real estate, against the business. Because what I want to do with this $350,000 is I want to go build new real estate. In a 1031 exchange, there's almost no way to build new real estate with it. So what we're going to do again is I'm going to increase our down payment from $1.5 to $1.85 million. We're going to get a line of credit for $350,000. Then I get to go and improve this property. And because I want to go build a couple of cabins on there. It's 120 acres down there. It's freaking beautiful. Add a couple of cabins that we can rent out to wedding parties and stuff like that. In addition to people who are just looking to stay in the Brown County area, which is absolutely stunning. If you guys ever come out to Indianapolis, I recommend taking a couple of days for the weekend down in Brown County. It's absolutely lovely. And so again, I had to go be the most creative son of a bitch and push it, but I had to lean on that relationship with my lender. That was the first one. I leaned on that. The other option that I've kept in my back pocket here is the seller's mother has like a portion of it that's cut out like from the street side. It's 120 acres. It's freaking huge. But there's this little street side area with a house that's her mother's house. So I've actually offered to purchase that house at, it might be a little more than $350,000, but go purchase it and then refinance it and go pull it out. So I've got multiple options there going as we're going here across the finish line, because now I have 135 days to go close on all of this. Because with a 1031 exchange, you have 45 days to identify what properties you're going to purchase, and then a total of 180 days to actually complete the transaction. That generally makes sense to everybody. I know that was a lot of numbers and a lot of like random things that you guys don't know, but just kind of showing that the value of real estate. Essentially what I'm doing here, and it sounds bad, but I'm laundering that $350,000 through real estate to then go be able to pull it out in cash in some other way, a loan against it. Does that make sense? Okay, go for it, Ed.
I have a better alternative than divorcing your wife and
oh yeah, is there a better alternative?
Yeah, renew your vows, have a ceremony, invite us, we'll show up.
It's all right.
Renew your vows. Yeah.
Is that a commitment?
Yeah.
Can I get six people here to come to my renewal? Yeah, I actually think that's in play. It's an incredible venue. We've only been married for 6 years, so I think maybe that 10-year mark we do something. We do it out there. But I have to tell you guys, it is the coolest thing. It's really an established business. It does about $600,000 a year of revenue. So go try and find a 2% deal in today's market. I dare you. So it's a $3.6 million purchase. It does about 600 grand. The opportunity, I think we can rent out that house for about 100 grand a year on Airbnb ballpark. So go find a 2% rule. Again, the ability of real estate to get creative. I don't know where I was going with that. Oh, it's just, dude, it's freaking cool. The fact that they've got the catering relationships, they've got the alcohol relationships, they've got the DJ relationships. It's a business I'm buying, and I just get to go and like, she's currently taking a salary of 75 grand when and she's equity stripping the shit out of the business. But I just need to hire 2 of the people that she's got there as full-time people just to offset her and her leaving. And this thing can run itself. It is one of the most incredible operations I've ever seen. I want to give, if you guys ever have an opportunity to meet Allison, she is one of the most impressive women I've ever met. It's an impressive couple, the two of them, but I am just ridiculously, I want to be Allison when I grow up. Yeah, go for it, Mila.
I have a question. Why are they selling this business if it you know?
Yeah, two reasons. One, they're moving to Missouri, and so they're doing that, which is fantastic. They want to get closer to their husband's family, so that's a piece of it. Second is they're the kind of couple, and I think they're incredible, but they're the people that take something from 0 to 1. They aren't the type of people that take something from not to the Ozarks. They're moving to God, I can't remember. It's right outside of Kansas City. It's an incredible area, right outside like fracking town, apparently. But they're the kind of people that take something from 0 to 1. They're not the kind of person that takes something from 1 to 10. So they don't necessarily have the vision or the financial finesse to go and do this game. So I believe I can go and build these cabins on this property. It's going to 120 acres. I think it's going to cost me, there's going to be a fixed cost to get it started, of running lines, septic, all that stuff, of about $10,000 to $20,000. But after that point, it's going to cost me about $60,000 per cabin to build on this property. Ballpark. Might be up as high as 80. It could be as low as 40, but it's going to be somewhere in that range, depending on my level of finish. And I think those things could rent out for about $40,000 a year based on our numbers. So I essentially have a 1.5 year payback on that sucker. So again, just roll it forward. And the reason my lender is willing to do something like this, and the reason they're willing to give me a loan on something like this, is I'm going to go increase the value of the property and makes it a safer investment for them over time, a more cash flow positive investment for them over time. Yeah.
You have a good operator afterwards. The person's leaving, like, who are you replacing with?
Yeah, so I wouldn't buy this business if she didn't have incredible employees. And she's got, I met 3 of them. 3 of them, only one of them will be really angry if they don't get a full-time job when she leaves. But funny enough, that's actually not the one I'm probably going to offer the full-time job to. I met 3 incredible, I don't want to say young women. That sounds so pejorative. I don't know. 2 of them are probably my age. But 3 incredible women who just love weddings. And I think that there's an incredible, they love weddings. They've been running these weddings. I'll tell you, Allison hasn't really been involved in the day-to-day operations in a while. She's been outsourcing a lot of it. She's been doing a lot of small decision-making, which I think can be outsourced here over time. And I've spent now 3 days down with her to understand the business a little bit better. And I've asked her, hey, every decision you make, I just want you to write it down for me. And she's going to, I've never bought a business before, so this is going to be my first time. And so I was like, hey, every decision you're making, everything you're touching, I just want you to write it down so that I know like what decisions are being made. So I know what I need to outsource and how I need to coach that person appropriately, or these people appropriately. And she's actually going to be a consultant for us for 40 hours a week for a month after close. And then after that point, then we have the ability to book her for up to 100 hours for the rest of the year or something like that. But she's not going to go anywhere. Like, she's already asking me, hey, how do I invest in real estate? Like, she and Diane, my wife, her and her husband all spent an entire day together, and we were talking about everything. So I don't see her going anywhere. She doesn't want this thing to fail. But yeah, I needed a turnkey operation. Otherwise I wasn't down. And I'll tell you the other reason why she's capitalizing is she's on a cash accrual basis, or cash-based accounting basis. So she has been extracting a decent amount of capital from the business in a very legal way. And right now, wedding bookings are up a lot. So she has equity stripped a decent amount of the business, which I'm trying to stop before we close. But overall, it's a really good opportunity for her. How'd you meet Allison and or find the business? I'm going to be honest with you guys. I was sitting there doing the 1031. We were talking about just how with Prasanth, just how much of a pain in the ass a 1031 is. I needed to go spend $3.1 million. Do you know how many freaking houses you have to buy to spend $3.1 million in Indianapolis? Especially if you want to get the kind of yield you're looking for. So I said, screw it. Like, I'm just going to go buy an apartment. I don't want to do this anymore. Like, this is too much work. And so I just set my Zillow super high. I set it above $2 million. I was like, I'm going to just find any apartment complex. I was going to go look. I was looking on LoopNet. I was looking on Zillow, and I stumbled across this property. I didn't quite understand it when I first saw it. I'll actually post the link here so you guys can all see it. And then I have to hop off because I am going to be in trouble with my wife if I don't get to dinner with them. But the link is there in the chat thread for the Zoom if you guys want to take a look. I was looking at it, I'm like, what the hell am I looking at? Why is this $3.6 million for 120 acres? Am I buying a farm? It wasn't a farm, and very quickly figured out what it was. I'm a little upset that it still says that it's not pending, because it's definitely pending. But with that in mind, that was the situation. And so we fell in love with it. I spent 3 days down there and met Allison. And I'll tell you, when you're making big transactions like this, there is nothing quite like getting eye to eye with the seller and building that relationship. I did that with my house in Fishers. I did that with my house here in Carmel, when I knew I was competing against people who were willing to pay more than I was. Getting eye to eye, and like, I'll be honest with you guys, it could be discriminatory and everything. Like, the whole reason why people don't do love letters anymore, or why they don't allow love letters for properties, is because they're afraid of people discriminating. But there's nothing quite as powerful as building that relationship eye to eye with somebody and say, hey, like, I want to carry your legacy forward. You've done an amazing job here. I did that in Fishers. I did that here in Carmel. I did that down in Bloomington with Allison. I looked at her. I said, you've built something freaking beautiful. I don't want to screw it up. Can you tell me how not to screw it up? I want to buy your business and I want to carry your legacy forward. And she got an offer. She got multiple offers. She took mine. So highly, highly recommend that, if particularly in the larger transactions. When you're talking about a $50,000, $100,000 house, it probably doesn't matter as much. But when somebody raised their family somewhere, there's nothing quite that powerful. All right, guys. I'm going to get in trouble if I don't head off to Sun King here, but appreciate all you guys for joining me, making me not lonely here. I just want to shout out, congratulate Mila and Ed for getting under contract on a couple properties. Chris, we're going to figure out your situation. Prasanth, you're crushing it. I can't wait to copy you with regards to the direct to seller. And David, hopefully your contractor gets that place done here in the next couple of weeks so that you get to sell that sucker before the market cools at all. Okay. All right. Appreciate all you guys. Have a good weekend. I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.